Hello, and welcome to My Career in Data, a podcast where we discuss with industry leaders and experts how they have built their careers. I'm your host, Shannon Kemp, and today we're talking to Laura Clayton McDonnell from Thomson Reuters.
With a robust catalog of courses offered on demand and industry-leading live online sessions throughout the year, the DATAVERSITY Training Center is your launchpad for career success. Browse the complete catalog at training.dataversity.net and use code DVTalks for 20% off your purchase.
Hello and welcome. My name is Shannon Kemp, and I'm the Chief Digital Officer at DATAVERSITY, and this is My Career in Data, a DATAVERSITY Talks podcast dedicated to learning from those who have careers in data management, to understand how they got there, and to talk with people who help make those careers a little bit easier. To keep up to date in the latest in data management education, go to dataversity.net/subscribe. Today, we are joined by Laura Clayton McDonnell, President of Corporates at Thomson Reuters. And normally, this is where a podcast host would read a short bio of the guest. But in this podcast, your bio is what we're here to talk about. Laura, hello and welcome.
Hello, Shannon. Good to see you.
Oh, nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm excited to hear your story. So let's dive in. So you are the President of Corporates at Thomson Reuters. And just in case somebody doesn't know who Thomson Reuters is, can you tell us what kind of company it is?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do so. Thomson Reuters is a global content tech company. And there's a lot of words in there, but it's really about empowering people, particularly professionals who across legal, tax, accounting, compliance, government, and media sectors. And what we do is we bring together content and technology in support of the work that they do. And the way that we do it is through using advanced AI. As president of the corporate segment, I focus on serving professionals. They're in businesses that could be small, medium business, entrepreneurial, all the way to large multinational companies. And we do this by providing companies with technology and solutions that are embedded, they're connected, and they're intelligent. And they're all designed to help professionals navigate the intersection of commerce and compliance. And that's a really important intersection. There's laws out there, policies, procedures. You need to follow them in order to be able to do business. Ultimately, our goal is to equip these professionals with data, intelligence, tools, so they can make decisions that are informed, so they can efficiently operate, so they can manage an increasingly complex world. And we see that every single day, that is becoming more and more complex. And what they're able to do with our solutions in this type of world is transform their functions into value for the company, value for the entire enterprise. That's what we do at Thomson Reuters.
Impressive. And I'm sure many people know small segments of what is done at the company, but not maybe the whole big picture, which again is really impressive. So as the president of corporates, you talked about this a little bit. What is it that you do? What is your day-to-day or average week look like?
Oh, my average week. I would call it an average week. What it looks like is this. I meet with customers. That's really primarily what I do. I meet with customers and I understand what their priorities are, what their challenges are, what they may need in terms of helping them achieve their goals. As I mentioned before, businesses are struggling with the challenge of being in compliance while still trying to achieve their goals. So I spend time sitting down with them, understanding their needs, understanding what's getting in the way of them being able to achieve their goals. And then, at Thomson Reuters, we have the opportunity to offer to them a variety of different solutions, whether it's in legal, tax, trade, or risk, to help those customers achieve their goals. But even more importantly, what we do is we help them get value. It's not about just sort of selling to them. It's really about, you're making an investment in us. You trust us because we've been around for a while. We have lots of experience and expertise, and we're able to deliver to you value. They're looking for value. And we show them that. And if we're able to do that in a good way and they're delighted with us, they'll continue to invest in us. So I spend my time with customers and leading a team that's all they think about. They're obsessed with our customers.
I love that. And so how do you work with data in your job?
Yeah, what's interesting about it is that, we all touch data in some form or fashion in our job. So, as the leader of the corporate segment, data is so important as to how we empower our customers. So, we don't just hand over data that's raw to them. We actually transforming it into something that they can act upon. So, it's going to be reliable once we add our, let's call it our secret sauce to it. It's going to be structured. It's going to be expertly validated, which is really important when it comes to professionals, especially like lawyers, CPAs, anybody who really needs to make sure that they're working with information that is right. So we turn this into, because consistently we hear from businesses, they're facing a lot of data. It is exploding in terms of the volume that is out there. And, one statistic that we see pretty often is about 57% of C-suite executives see it as something that's transformational or high impact. And what they really need is help with breaking down silos because businesses are interconnected. You don't just have a tax department or a legal department or a risk department. They're all working together on a business problem to solve. So you got to really work really hard to help break down those silos. So what we're committing to our customers to do is to take this incredible sort of volume of data and actually turn it into a differentiator for them, turn it into an advantage. And what we do is we take all of the expertise that we have, all of the extensive proprietary data that we have and insights. We leverage external public sources and even our clients' own internal data that when they give us permission to integrate it. And then we apply our deep domain expertise. Thomson Reuters is known as an organization that's been around for hundreds of years, right? And what we do is we take all of that expertise that's been honed over time, because inside of our organization, we have those professionals. We have folks who know about it, they know how to do it, they know what to do, and they know how impactful it is. So you take this real world expertise and experience in legal, tax, trade, risk, and you take our technology, which is innovative and it includes advanced AI, and then we embed this intelligent, trusted content directly into how customers do their jobs. They don't want to go out and go someplace else to do it. We want to make it easier for them. We want to make it more efficient. So they're not just sort of, accessing information, but what they're doing is being able to analyze complex scenarios and get deep insights of it. Absolutely critical for being able to manage the complexity in this world or regulatory challenges, make decisions about your business. An example is that we most recently announced a partnership with iCertis and Accenture. And these organizations that we're closely partnered with, they're going to change the way corporations work with a lot of legal documents, contracts, and how you get intelligence out of the workflows. And this differentiates us from other kinds of integrations, particularly with iCertis, because we're combining leading legal AI capabilities that has trusted authoritative content. And when you put this together, this blend allows us to address specific customer pain points. And there are current providers out there, they can't fully address it. Because if you're building a template library or drafting an agreement or you're understanding the impact of legal and regulatory changes, you need to have a provider that can do just that. So what's our goal? Our goal, can we help you? And we want to help you, by harnessing this power to make it faster and smarter, the types of decisions that you need to make at this intersection of commerce and compliance. And we're going to turn these functions, tax, trade, risk, legal, they're going to be value drivers for their organizations. So data, like I said, it's at the core. It's absolutely what we do. And we're excited about the opportunity to help deliver value to our customers because of the expertise and the trusted content that we bring to the table.
Oh, and I want to back it up because something you said earlier on in your answer there, you mentioned that you add a secret sauce to bring reliable data. And I love that so much. So many corporations and so many people who I've talked to struggle to get their executives on board to understand that a data quality program is in need. And here you are, like monetizing it with a secret sauce. It's a which tells me how valuable it is, right? It tells me how important it is to have reliable data. Um, and it's so I just wanted to really highlight that and just really point out, it is not, even though people struggle with this, it is such an important thing.
It is.
And clearly, because this is what you are helping your customers to, one of the many things you're helping your customers to achieve. Uh, so, okay, so I'm excited. So let's talk about how you got into this role.
Oh.
Uh, so Laura, tell me, okay, so let's back it way up, say 6 years old.
Mhm.
What was the dream? Did you say to yourself, I'm going to grow up and be president of corporate at a large corporation? What was the dream? What was
What
the,
was the dream?
yeah.
Okay, hold on. The dream was to be an astronaut. I
Ooh.
was convinced I was going to be an astronaut. I grew up in the Bay Area, and in the Bay Area at that time, there's a company, well, an organization called NASA Ames Research Center in Mountain View,
Mhm,
California. So
mhm.
not too far from where I grew up. And my
Okay.
high school had a program where 2 days a week, half day, you could be an intern there.
Uh-huh.
Of course, I signed up to be that because I always had this dream about that, and it's probably in alignment with how my parents really thought about this world. I will say that they were very supportive of me. It's not something that you would have seen somebody like myself as an astronaut, and so they were very supportive. Well, my father said, "Well, to be an astronaut, I mean, because every astronaut must have a telescope. Let's build one." Now, other people would have bought a telescope, not my father. He was a double E, so electrical engineer. So he got a copy of Scientific American. There actually was some directions about how you could build your own telescope.
Uh,
So that's what we're gonna do. So we went out to all these different stores. We got the tube, we got the lens. We went to a place where you could grind the lens and make it to the right
wow.
specifications. And then the day or night um, came about where we were going to actually use it and test it out. We got it all set up. It didn't work. I can't tell you how disappointed I was. And he said, don't you understand? The point of it wasn't just to get a telescope. It was the process. It was finding out how to do things and how things are put together because they don't just appear. And he said, this is a lesson about sort of this, he didn't use the word growth mindset. We talk about that term a lot about learning and thinking about things in a different kind of way. And so from a very early age, it was about learning and trying something new and not being afraid, to be bold about that. And so carrying it forward from being an astronaut to starting off my career as a lawyer, what made me decide to be a lawyer? And my parents are from Colon, Panama, and they always wanted to come to the United States. This is where the American dream was. One of the ways to do that was to join the US military. So my father joined the US Air Force, and he got trained up. He learned English, and the first place he was stationed was Bermuda. That's where I was born. And the next place he was stationed was in California. Now the family is getting larger. And so we're looking for a place, that would have my brother and sister and myself. We have plenty of room and all of that. And, when I think about the journey that my parents made, they're like pioneers. They didn't necessarily have to see it to believe it. They believed and then they made it real. And I think about them sort of leaving behind their family, friends, food, culture, music, all of that to create a life for a family yet to be born. So anyway, here we are in California looking for another place. And my mom found a development. And so she called up the folks, said, "Hey, I'd like to make an appointment to see some housing." They said, "Sure, come on over." And so my mom said, okay, well, I have to bring my husband. And so she did. And when they got there, they were about to get out of their car and they're like, no, 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 we don't have any places for you. Well, my parents, they could have done a lot of different things. They could have said, you know what, there's a lot of growth that's happening in California. We don't have to be here. But they did something that not too many people do. And especially if this is the first time, you're in this country, they decided to sue under the Fair Employment and Housing Act of California and also the federal law. And they won. And it was on that day I decided I was going to be a lawyer. I'm going to give voice to folks who did not have a voice. I'm going to stand up for folks, myself and others, who may not have the opportunity to be able to enjoy the American dream. So I became a lawyer because of that. And
So what kind of law did you specialize in?
So I specialize in corporate securities law, but here's the thing. Because in order to be successful, not only in the United States is to go to school, yes, but to have a piece of the economy, that is to grow that, to be successful there. So I specialize in corporate securities law, and I did pro bono work for entrepreneurs, women and people of color who are trying to form their own businesses. Because when you're a corporate securities lawyer, you help folks incorporate their businesses. The articles of incorporation, bylaws, issuing stock, that's a very expensive proposition. If you're a woman, person of color, first of your family as an entrepreneur. And so I happened to work for a law firm that did that as their pro bono. What a wonderful experience, because you're giving back to the community and helping the community by growing it financially and economically. And the best thing, we had one that was a baker, and she made muffins and cupcakes and baked goods, and that's how we got paid. But that's what I really wanted to do. And so throughout my career, you'll find me wanting always, I'm curious about the world. I want to lean in. I want to give back to the community. And it's especially because of the sacrifices that my parents made. So when folks ask me what drives and motivates you, well, it's because of my family. So I have a personal philosophy statement. I'll share it with you. And that is to live life in an exemplary manner and all that matters, with courage, curiosity, compassion, humility, integrity, and optimism. And each one of those words is a story about my family. The curiosity, well, that's the story about the telescope and how it's important to continue to be curious and learn, and to be exemplary, to be a role model for others. The very best. They sacrificed a lot, and I think about that all the time.
What a story.
Visit dataversity.net and expand your knowledge with thousands of articles and blogs written by industry experts, plus free live and on-demand webinars covering the complete data management spectrum. While you're there, subscribe to the weekly newsletter so you'll never miss a beat.
And we're only to the point of you getting to be a lawyer.
Yeah. And so as a lawyer, in the high tech field, grew up in the Bay Area before it was Silicon Valley. Now, of course, it's Silicon Valley. But what I did is I really wanted to know why businesses were formed, why they sold what they did. And as an in-house counsel, I did a lot of work in corporate securities law. Then I moved to sales and marketing. Of course, you need to understand why people buy what they do and how do they use it and how you can help support them. To eventually, I ended up at a company that said, you know what, you don't sound like a lawyer anymore. You sound like a business person. Come join my team. And that was a group that's had relationships with partners and alliances. So basically a channel organization. So I continued my growth that way and eventually ended up at a company that was acquired by IBM, did sales and marketing there, did a business that was over $2 billion, lived and worked abroad for 2 years, which is so fantastic for me to be in Spanish South America because, of course, my family is from there. And then from IBM to Microsoft, because Microsoft wanted to change the world. Those organizations that have a purpose statement that resonate with me, those are the ones where I'm going to gravitate to. And that was Microsoft's. and, empower every person in every organization on the planet to achieve more. So like 8 years later, I still know what that is, right? Because it's so powerful in and of itself. And it's really about empowerment and supporting and in service to customers and the world. From Microsoft to ServiceNow, or I was there for 4 years before coming to Thomson Reuters, where, started off as a lawyer and now I get to sell to lawyers.
I love that full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really, really do. So many lessons in there, so much curiosity. Tell me, what has been your biggest lesson so far in your career?
Wow. I mean, it's really about, for me, it's about delivering value. And it could be value that you deliver because you're giving back to the community, right? You have so much sort of benefit and enjoyment from, what the community has, that it really is important that you give back to. You need to deliver value. So it could be to your community. It could be, in a business relationship. So that customer really is enjoying and in delighting in what you're able to offer, that you've met their needs, maybe even exceeded their needs, but you're doing it because you're giving them value, and always thinking about that, whether it's with your community, with your customer, with your team, your friends, your family. And so it starts with really understanding your customer. Let's just focus on the business side of the house. Your customer, what do they need? What are the challenges that they face? What are their priorities? And what's getting in the way from them being able to achieve their goals? And what you can do, what you can offer to them as a solution to help solve that. And so when you understand the need, you understand what's getting in the way, you have a solution, and then you're able to show them, look, I'm not just coming to you with a solution, I'm actually giving you value over time. It's going to be measurable. It's one that's going to make a difference. It's going to be impactful. When you have that and you use innovation and technology in support of that, while being curious, right, with the growth mindset, these challenges become opportunities for learning and development. And you can cultivate your skill set, your abilities by, being dedicated to do the kind of hard work that's required to do it. So when you have that, and then the rigor of the critical thinking from my legal background, it really has been essential. It's been important to be able to navigate the complexities of the industry. So, for me, it's how do I make a tangible, positive impact? How do I give back? How do I live my life in an exemplary way? As my parents sort of instilled upon me, giving the very best that you can, thinking about others, being a role model for others, and making sure that they can experience, positive impact from the work that you do and the interactions that you have.
And I really appreciate that you keep bringing up curiosity. When we started this podcast, I started it to show the diversity and pathways in the number of jobs available working with data, and B, just that there's no one path into data, right? I've seen nurses become data practitioners. There's film producers have become data practitioners. Just a lot of diversity in that. But the commonality that I didn't know was there is curiosity.
Mhm.
And it's that curiosity and that passion that leads all data practitioners to has led to data. Um,
Mhm.
it's such an important part of any role, really, but it's especially common amongst data practitioners.
Yeah, agreed, agreed.
Um, so yeah, so again, I really appreciate that you highlight that and bring that forth. Um, because sometimes I think we're afraid to be curious.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so tell me, having worked with a lot with data, especially in your current role, what is your definition of data?
Oh, that's a good question. There's a lot of data. For us, it could be information, it could be laws and regulations and policies, and could be contract. But I think about data as information that's in a raw state. It's raw. And it becomes valuable when you can curate it and process it. into something that becomes, content that's validated. So you can open up somebody's file drawer or look at their, folders in their laptop, and you see all kinds of documents and information and all of that. I think about that as raw data. It only becomes of use when you can apply some expertise to it. And that expertise can range anywhere from proprietary information, because we've got a lot of experts inside of our organization that can apply that and extract more value out of that data. It could be our customers bringing their own sort of spin to the data because they're in a particular industry. And when you're able to layer that on, it's more than just like these facts or figures or documents. It can be something that then is relied upon for high stakes. So you have to apply something to the data. And because there's so much to it, you can't really make a decision based on it. So you need some intelligence applied, you need some expertise applied, so you can get some insights from it, so you can drive it. Once you do that, that's what powers decision making that's superior. That what powers the decision making that you need in any kind of business. How you manage, how you then operate, how do you get an impact? And I think that's what, the businesses that we serve are looking for that from us. Help me with this incredible volume of data. Help me convert it into something that I can use, act upon, get an impact, and get some value from.
Absolutely. Tell me then, do you see the importance of data management and the number of jobs working with data increasing or decreasing over the next 10 years, and why?
Yeah, I think it's increasing. I really do. I mean, we could see it all the time. The more that we have access to, or the more that we're going to need the skill set of somebody who's able to manage data and extract value. There is too much out there for one person to kind of absorb themselves. There's too much to consider. The world is complex. You are making complex decisions, and there's more that you can actually, there's almost too much for you to manage. So you're going to need folks who are able to do that. And I think it takes, I mean, as we were talking about, I think it takes a sort of a special kind of skill set, that curiosity to not just accept sort of wholesale that data in its raw state, but to turn it into something that is usable, impactful, that can drive decisions. I don't think there's going to be less data next year. I think there's going to be more. We've seen it over time. And then the more that folks have access to it, a lot of folks are looking for individuals that can help them. So I see it going up, and I think the demand for that skill set going up too.
I agree. And what advice then would you give to people looking to get into a career in data management?
Yeah, I think I would start with being focused on continuous learning, that growth mindset we've been talking about, right? Which is you're curious about the world. You're not accepting of the status quo. By embracing that, because so much is changing, you need to be able to change and adapt and learn new skills and see, that there's opportunities here with these challenges. So that's the first thing, growth mindset, be curious. I think secondly is when you're thinking about a career here, don't stop at the raw data. We've been talking about it. It needs to become valuable to individuals to make changes. And that's really focused on transforming it. And so being that individual or bringing that secret sauce to transform it into something that is actionable is going to be really important. So what do you need to know? You need to really understand the domain, and there's data, and then you got to layer on top of it. Are you in the legal field, tax field, risk field, compliance? So you need to understand that domain knowledge, that context. That's going to be really crucial. So it's not just about data, but it's data in aid of healthcare or to get a document done. I think the next thing is really have strong ethics, because it's such a powerful technology when you apply AI to data in particular and you're trying to process it. So you've got to be mindful of things that sometimes we sort of are off and running and we're excited about the outcome, but step back and ask yourself questions about fairness and transparency and accountability and privacy. We're finding it becomes even more important now. And then always remember that this is to augment human expertise, not to replace it. And so the whole thing about analytical thinking and critical thinking, if I were to advise somebody going to school, please do ensure that you take courses around that. It's going to become even more important to have that skill set. So you need to apply the human element. It needs to be ethical. It needs to be one where you understand you're developing an expertise because you got to be able to interpret this data, apply judgment, so you can make informed decisions. That's always going to be important. There's no question about it, because these are high stakes environments. So folks who are curious, folks who bring a level of ethical and business judgment to it, understand the context with respect to it, and know that it's not a replacement. It's just to augment, because we still need your analytical skills and critical skills. They're going to do well.
That is great advice. And sometimes, it also, we talk about, when I already talked about, sometimes being curious can be scary, but certainly being strong can be scary, but it's so important. It is so critical to maintain those ethics and really make sure that we are moving in the right direction over our own advances. Tell me too, you mentioned, nurturing that curiosity. What's your favorite way to learn?
Wow, my favorite way to read.
Yeah.
I love reading books. I especially like TED Talks too. So, getting a podcast or something on Audible is really important. One of my favorite books, it starts with Why by Simon Sinek, because I think everything is done with a purpose. And it may be readily apparent to you, maybe not, but it's important to find out what it is. Always start with why. And in fact, this book says it starts with why. And so I love that. That's how I like to learn.
Yeah, me too. And tell me, so you mentioned it at the beginning, and would you mind repeating the life philosophy that also includes curiosity?
Sure. So it's to live life in an exemplary manner in all that matters, with courage, curiosity, compassion, humility, integrity, and optimism. And all of those words, it's a story about my family. If we had more time, I would do that.
I love that so much. Well, Laura, I would be remiss if I didn't ask, if somebody wanted to learn more about Thomson Reuters, where would they go?
Well, thank you so much for that. I would say the first place to start is our website, right? ThomsonReuters.com. It gives you so much information about our company, our purpose, all the solutions that we have across all of the sectors where we help professionals. We also host customer conferences like Synergy, so that's coming up soon. And it's a great place where you can get demos of our products and get deeper insights, learn about our industry and trends. And I always welcome connections on LinkedIn, and that's where you can find me too, because we can continue the dialogue there.
Well, thank you for that. And we'll post those links to the podcast page as well, to make sure you'll have that information. Well, Laura, it has been such a pleasure to get to know you. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
You are very welcome. Thank you.
Oh, and to all of our listeners out there, if you'd like to keep up in the latest podcasts and in the latest in data management education, you can go to dataversity.net/subscribe. Until next time, stay curious, everyone. Thank you for listening to DATAVERSITY Talks, a podcast brought to you by DATAVERSITY. Subscribe to our newsletter for podcast updates and information about our free educational webinars at dataversity.net/subscribe.